On top of a 100-meter-high signal tower, a boy sat silently. The rescue team below begged him, but he did not budge. Soon, the boy's father, Martin, rushed over and coaxed him down with a phone. The rescue team was frustrated because this was the boy's third time climbing the tower. The time he climbed was always 3:18 p.m. Martin was exhausted. His son, Jake, was autistic. Jake had not spoken for 10 years, and he did not let anyone touch him. This left Martin completely helpless. On the way home, Martin stopped to fill up his gas tank. He looked enviously at children laughing on the bus. When Martin turned around, Jake was gone. Martin frantically searched for his son. Martin found Jake standing next to bus number 318. At a convenience store, Jake grabbed a lottery ticket from a man named Randall, then jumped into the car. Jake locked the door and wrote down the numbers. Martin bangs on the window screaming, but Jake only returns the lottery ticket after he has finished writing it. Randall is furious, swearing and punching Martin before he leaves. That night, Randall pins the lottery ticket to the wall. He has been buying the same numbers for 10 years but has never won. Meanwhile, Jake arranges the phones in a circle before going to bed. As Martin turns off the lights, all the phones start to play the same number. The number matches Randall's ticket. The next morning, Martin is shocked to learn that Jake's numbers have won the jackpot. A welfare worker named Clea visits to assess Jake's condition and Martin's income. Clea tells Martin to consider placing Jake in a care facility. Martin refuses, claiming that Jake can predict the future. Jake climbs the tower 3 times, always at 3:18 p.m. 2 weeks ago, Jake set all the clocks in the house to that time. Martin showed Clea the numbers Jake wrote down, but she thought he was paranoid due to stress. She pushed him to take Jake away. When they said goodbye, Martin tried to pat Jake's head, but he pulled away. This hurt Martin. After Jake was taken away, Martin visited his wife's grave and he found a badge with the number 318. Martin followed the clue and found a prophetic association. The man at the door was named Arthur, not Prophet. Martin was about to leave when Arthur stopped him. Arthur asked Martin if his son climbed the signal tower, right? Then Arthur invited Martin inside. At the welfare home, Jake arranged the popcorn into a number which was Clea's mother's phone number. Clea's phone rang. It was her mother calling. Jake circled March 18 on the calendar. It was 3:18 again. Arthur told Martin that Jake wasn't mute, but he chose to be silent. Jake sees everything: the past, the present, the future, and how the world connects. Jake doesn't predict the future. He sees a map of destiny, and Arthur's job is to follow it. Martin is inspired. He looks through Jake's old notes and finds a phone number. He calls, but no one answers. Martin is interrupted by Clea as he tracks its location. She says it's March 18. Martin realizes Jake is implying something will happen at 3:18. Only 22 minutes left. They rush to a crowded station with dozens of public phone booths. Martin dials the number. A nearby booth is ringing, but Randall is using it. As time passes, Martin begs Randall to let him use the phone, but Randall recognized Martin, and they fought. In the chaos, the clock struck 3:18 p.m. Martin missed the call, and Randall missed his train. The next morning, Martin received a voicemail from Randall. For 10 years, Randall had been haunted by his failure to save Martin's wife in an accident. Now, thanks to winning the lottery, Randall would donate to make up for his mistake. A news report on TV shocked Martin. Randall, a retired firefighter, had saved 25 children on the 318 bus after missing the train. Martin realized that Jake had foreseen it all. He used numbers to connect the events. Martin then rushed to the welfare home, but Clea said Jake was gone. That night, Jake was on the tower again. Martin overcame his fear of heights to climb up. For the first time, Martin expressed his feelings. Jake hugged Martin and took his phone and dialed a new number. Then Jake wrote another number on Martin's hand. Martin followed the number to a store. The shop owner is Arie. Suddenly, a man with a gun rushes in. Martin falls to the floor, but Arie provokes the robber and deliberately exposes a gun under the counter. The robber gets mad, and Martin rushes at him. Arie is shot, but survives. Strangely, Arie scolds Martin for ruining his plan. Martin is confused and goes to see Arthur. Clea calls and reports that Jake is missing again. She explains that while Jake was playing, he got paint on his hand. She turns away to get a towel, and he disappears, leaving the numbers 529 on a piece of paper. Clea uses the code to open a door, but Jake is gone. On a crowded street, Martin panics and finds Jake across the street getting on a bus. Martin chases after him, but Jake refuses to get off. Having no choice, Martin gets on the bus. The bus stops, and Jake gets off. Martin followed, and noticed Jake stopping in front of Arnie's shop. The phone number on the window ended in 297, but Jake's number was 296. Martin dialed 296 and called when a phone upstairs rang. They knocked on the door, but no one answered. Martin broke the lock. Inside, Jake took a baseball bat with 296 on it and placed it next to the sofa. The owner returned. A big guy attacked Martin. Martin was outnumbered and was knocked down, but he took the bat and knocked the guy down and fled with Jake in a taxi. Jake gave Martin a bottle of pills. Martin understood the meaning and told the driver to go to the hospital. At the hospital, Arie was not there. Martin thought they had reached a dead end, but Jake looked out the door. From Jake's perspective, perspective. Martin saw Arie climbing over the railing of the bridge, ready to do something stupid. Arie was dying of cancer. He had arranged a robbery with a neighbor to collect insurance money for his estranged daughter. Martin's intervention ruined the plan and pushed Arie to despair. Martin pulled Arie back. A dog ran up, followed by a flight attendant. It was Arnie's daughter and Martin's co-worker. That morning, Martin, an airport baggage handler, had taken her luggage. A dog escaped, so she chased it to the bridge. There she saw her father about to do something stupid. Thanks to Jake's numbers, Martin saved Arie and reconnected the two. Their journey continued. At the cemetery, Martin and Jake visited his wife's grave. A man with a sad face sat there, claiming to be a friend of Martin's wife. Jake suddenly ran off with his kite. Martin chased Jake and said he had met his wife's friend. He left, but they were able to catch up. Martin asks Jake what he thinks. Jake stares at a notebook on the ground that says 9.5. Martin checks his phone and it says 9:50. Jake flies away and chases after it. Martin walks through the cemetery and down the streets to an apartment complex. There is a 90-year room there, but Jake stops at the 60-year room and refuses to leave. Two kids kick a ball in the hallway, flipping the 6 upside down into a 9. The door opens, and it's Poppy, the man from the cemetery. Poppy is shocked that Martin is following him. He asks them to leave before his wife gets home. Jake rushes inside and stares at a photo that says happy birthday to Sarah, his mother's name. Poppy explains that he used to be an uneducated truck driver until Sarah guided him and helped him turn his life around, so he named his daughter Sarah in her honor. But he lives with guilt for not saving her on September 11 because of his cowardice. Poppy's wife returns, interrupting the conversation. Jake hides in the bedroom and finds his kite stuck on the desk. He runs upstairs to retrieve it. In the apartment upstairs, a man is emailing his friend instructions for installing a speaker. Jake's kite gets caught in the antenna, disrupting the signal. The man's wife opens the window, startled by Jake, and falls to the ground. Her husband helps her up and accidentally presses a keypad that changes the voltage in the email from 50 volts to 950 volts. The friend misreads the voltage and sets it to 950 volts, causing a fire. The light from the fire helps the rescue team find an injured soldier and save his life. Jake reaches for the kite and slips and falls. Poppy catches Jake. Although Poppy couldn't save Sarah, he saved her son. He made amends for his past. For 10 years, Martin dreams of Jake laughing on a swing and hugging him, something that is impossible in reality. Martin wakes up to Jake's cold, distant presence. Martin feels burdened. Martin meets Arthur and shows him Jake's numbers for the past month. Arthur asks Martin to read them out loud. Martin is halfway through when Arthur completes the sequence. Arthur reveals that it is not random, but a pattern. 10 years ago, Arthur sensed the sequence and linked people and events. Arthur's version has 3 extra numbers, 975. Arthur predicts that they will trigger a major event. Arthur wants to see Jake, but the shelter restricts visitors. Arthur pretends to be a doctor to see Jake. Jake draws 975 as if he is waiting for Arthur. Then Jake adds a 6. Arthur follows the clue to room 6, but it is empty. Arthur hears a noise in the hallway and sees someone in a wheelchair and yells, "Amelia." A manager appears, accusing Arthur of bad intentions and threatening to call the police. Meanwhile, Clea receives a call from the hospital. Her schizophrenic mother has another attack. Clea tries to comfort her, but her mother screams about having to take care of a child. Then her mother runs away. Clea calls the police and she runs into Martin. They see a news report about a kidnapped child and wonder if her mother means this child. They search everywhere, but find nothing. Clea remembers her childhood home being demolished. Despite the protests of the workers, they rush in and find her mother. Clea's mother doesn't recognize her. She even threatens Clea with a knife. Clea patiently recounts fond memories to calm her mother down. Clea's mother said she found a lost boy and took him to the park, but he was coughing so badly that she went to get him some medicine. But when she came back, the boy was gone. Martin rushed to the park, which was exactly like his dream. The same trees and the same swing. Martin found the boy in the woods. Martin opened his arms like a father and said, "It's okay, honey. Don't be afraid. Do you want Daddy to take you home? Come here. You're safe." Martin hugged the boy. It felt like this was the arms Martin had always wanted from Jake. After Martin took the boy home, Martin went to the welfare home and saw a crowd in the parking lot. Arthur was dead. The security camera showed that Arthur had left something for Jake before leaving. 10 minutes later, Arthur was found dead in the parking lot. Martin cautiously asked Jake what Arthur had given him. Jake was silent and arranged the cards. A key with the numbers 1188 was on one of the cards. Martin felt uneasy. It was the dead man's hand, a term in poker. The ace and 8 were the last cards White Bill had before he was shot. It was a clue, a map. To investigate, Martin went to Arthur's house. His daughter said the key opened a basement around the corner, not the house. Martin rushed there, but the key didn't fit. A man came out and asked who Martin was. Martin said he was Arthur's friend. The man asked Martin to pay $1,000 to get in. Martin reluctantly paid. When Martin went inside, he found a casino. Martin played a few games to find out information about Arthur. A woman named Celeste knew Arthur. Celeste said if Martin was playing his numbers, they would never work. Martin realizes that Arthur has been testing his judgments to gamble. Celeste mentions Logan, a researcher with Arthur. Before Martin can dig deeper, Clea calls. Jake's wealthy aunt is in a welfare home and wants custody. They claim she can provide better conditions. Martin refuses to give up and asks Jake, but Jake is taking a test with the code 1188 created by Logan. Martin rushes to Logan's apartment and finds him unconscious. Martin calls an ambulance, but is delayed. Martin checks Logan's phone and sees a recent call ending in 1188. Martin calls the number and follows the instructions to inject Logan with drugs. Martin saves Logan's life. Logan admits that he used Arthur's numbers to win big at the casino where he met Celeste. Logan's winning streak gets him banned. Logan, fearing for Celeste, cuts off contact. Logan reveals that Celeste is being held by the casino boss. Logan asks Martin to help him win a game of poker to free her. Logan promises to reveal Arthur's secret lab. With little money, they go to the casino. Logan coaches Martin, but he keeps losing. In the final game, Martin draws an ace and an 8. On Logan's signal, Martin goes all in. They win big and free Celeste. They find Arthur's lab, but its secret is still hidden. On a busy street, Martin bumps into a woman and spills her bag. This is no accident. Jake is setting up a meeting. Martin and Jake had previously taken a tour of the Welfare House's technology museum. When they get off the bus, Jake rushes into the crowd. As Martin chases Jake, Martin bumps into the woman. Jake then becomes cooperative and follows Martin into the museum. A large screen is showing a live stream from another country. Jake approaches and touches the screen, where a girl named Verona is placing her hand on it. An unprecedented move for Jake. The footage switches to a man, scaring Jake and causing him to fall to the ground. Clea switches back to the old footage, but Verona is gone. But a couple nearby is on the phone. Martin begs the girl to have her boyfriend call Verona back. Jake calms down when Verona appears, but Verona recognizes the woman Martin bumped into. The woman is there to get her phone back. Verona tries to talk to her, but the woman panics. Verona explains that her mother died after giving birth to her and left behind only a photo. She believes the woman is her mother because they have the same mole. Martin doubts such a coincidence, but the look in Jake's eyes changes Martin's mind. Martin chases after the woman, but she is gone. When Martin returns, Jake is almost hit by a taxi. The driver gets out to check on Jake. Meanwhile, another man jumps into the car. Martin tracks the woman to a hotel where she works. Jake runs to the second floor and plays a game of string in the hallway. An employee who looks exactly like Verona asks where Jake's parents are. Martin approaches, stunned. Martin mentions the phone and urges her to meet Verona at the museum. On the screen, the two women see each other and immediately know they are sisters. 21 years ago, Simone gave birth to twins in India. A doctor lied and said only one baby survived, but the doctor sold the other baby. The doctor continued to traffic children. A taxi driver realizes the truth and tries to report the doctor, but the doctor escapes. Martin asks Jake for clues, but he just plays a game of string. When Martin reached for his phone, coins fell out. A woman helped pick them up and she bumped into the doctor. Martin confronted Dr. Knox. The police arrested Knox shortly after. Verona went to America and reunited with her family after 21 years. Jake grew closer to Martin. Suddenly, Jake threw a glass ball into the street, breaking the windshield of a police car. The police officer smiled and shook his finger in warning. Martin was very worried. Jake never left Martin alone for a minute. They went to the police station to pay for the incident. While Martin signed the papers, Jake watched an officer enter a room with a code. Jake rolled the ball to block him from opening the door. When Martin returned, Jake was in the evidence room. Martin was afraid of making a scene, so he followed. Jake spilled water on the floor and ran away. An officer pushing a cart slipped and dropped the files. Jake scribbled down the numbers 2217. Martin takes the file with 2217 and discovers horrifying secrets. Before that, Martin found Arthur's secret lab. Clea arrives first and meets Arie, Arthur's partner. Arie reveals that Arthur used to work for a technology company researching Amelia, a girl with extraordinary intelligence, the one who discovered the Amelia chain. The greedy company forced Arthur to increase the experiments that damaged Amelia's brain and made her unstable. Arthur was fired for this failure. Clea recognizes Amelia as the girl in room 6 at the welfare home. Clea feels something is wrong. One day, Clea leaves work early and sees the director instructing Jake to play a game. A voice from the computer tells him to do it again. The director quickly turns off the computer when Clea walks in. This makes Clea suspicious. After lunch, Clea tells Jake that someone is monitoring his tests. Jake glances at the director's computer and then uses his tablet to distract everyone. Clea accesses the director's computer. She is shocked to discover that the welfare home is just a front for a technology company. The experiments from Amelia to Jake continue. Clea warns Martin that the company is studying Jake's predictive abilities. Martin plans to run away with Jake, but Jake has his own plans. Jake takes Martin to the police station to get Amelia's files. Martin and Clea study them and notice inconsistencies inconsistencies in the timeline. They conclude that Amelia is still alive. Martin finds that Amelia's death report is missing an autopsy photo and confirms that she is not dead. At Arthur's lab, with Aram's help, Martin watches a video of Amelia's experiment. She mentions having her appendix removed at the age of 6. Martin examines the autopsy report. The body had a 3.3-gram appendix that contradicted her words. Another person was buried. Martin tried to tell Clea but was ambushed. Martin was knocked unconscious and had his files taken. He woke up in a train tunnel and heard a train approaching. Martin panicked and tried to open the emergency exits, but they were all locked. At the last second, he broke one down and narrowly escaped death. Martin confronted Abigail, his sister-in-law, and a shareholder in the tech company. He suspected her of being involved. She denied it and said she just wanted to take care of Jake for her sister. She didn't want to hurt him. Martin demanded to see Jake, but the CEO secretly took custody. She filed for an emergency hearing to revoke Martin's rights. Abigail objected because he couldn't hold the hearing without the baby's family. The director said everyone needed had agreed, including Clea. Martin was stunned. Clea had betrayed him. When Jake was taken away, Martin lost control. Anne screamed for her son. The welfare home called, allowing Martin one last visit with Jake before he was taken away. Martin bought a gun from Arie, but forgot to bring bullets. At the welfare home, Martin pulled out the gun to take Jake away, but it wasn't Jake. Clea switched Jake. Clea whispered that Jake was home. Martin rushed back and found an empty house. There was only a phone with Jake's clue, 4370. Martin knew it was his wife's birthday. They visited her grave to say goodbye. Then they went to a bus stop heading to Los Angeles, which was related to the number 4370. The welfare worker catches up. Martin brandishes his gun, but one pursuer calmly says, "I bet it's unloaded." He wrestles Martin and grabs the gun. He pulls the trigger, but it's empty. Martin grabs a brick and knocks him out, and he and Jake run away. Jake runs into the street and stops a car driven by Randall, the firefighter. Randall helps them escape. Martin mentions Randall's voicemail. Randall recognizes them as the family he's been avoiding for years. Randall gives Martin his car. Randall tells Martin to take Jake to Los Angeles. The two stop and head for a Ferris wheel. A new life ahead. Jake has made his biggest move yet. In a bakery, a man walks in, playing music and ignoring everyone. The owner stops and stares at him. There's no connection, only conflict. The man pulls out a gun and cuts the shopkeeper's artery. He collapses and dies. Like Jake, the shopkeeper sees the connections of the world. A killer with a twisted power who takes power by killing. When the shopkeeper dies, Jake senses something. Martin and Jake go to Los Angeles to meet Lucy, Amelia's mother. Lucy believes her daughter is still alive. Lucy has been following leads all over the country. Coincidentally, her next stop is Los Angeles. Martin confirms that Amelia is alive, but his evidence has been stolen. Lucy is anxious to find her daughter, so she sets off. Jake stops Lucy and hands her a notebook filled with 2s and 4s. Martin identifies a location from the numbers, and they rush there. Jake leads the way to a motel. Martin knocks on the door of room 2D. A man looks out and examines them. Lucy thinks they've got the wrong place. There's no sign of Amelia. Then a girl screams from inside. Lucy rushes in, but the man has locked the door. Martin breaks down the door, but the man and the girl are gone. As Martin starts to chase, an accomplice knocks him down. Lucy wants to call the police, but Martin warns that the only evidence they have is that Amelia is alive. If they move too fast, the men will panic and kill her. They pause to find Amelia. Martin goes undercover with the help of his friends. He breaks into the office of Bond, a lawyer involved in a tech company, and steals data from his computer. Bond catches Martin, but he escapes to the parking lot. After they decrypt the data, Martin finds emails tracking Amelia. One email is to a 227 address. He recognizes the numbers 27 everywhere. Bond's office, Jake's game console. At a building marked 5227, Lucy spots a figure that looks like Amelia, and she chases after her. Martin follows her and tells Jake to stay in the car. The building is full of aimless young people, but no Amelia. The bald man from the motel attacks Martin and knocks him out. Lucy finds a girl in the corner who she thinks is Amelia, but the girl runs away. She mistakes Lucy for a threat. The bald man points a gun at Lucy, but Martin wakes up and wrestles him to the ground. Lucy realizes the girl is not Amelia. She is just someone who looks exactly like Amelia. When the girl leaves, Martin finds a map in her pocket, exactly like the one he saw before. He asks her where she got this. She said, "A girl gave it to me this morning at the beach near the pier. She said she looks like me." Lucy is sure it is Amelia, but when Lucy gets to the beach, the girl is gone. Jake draws a picture and gives it to a stranger. A woman exclaims and asks where he got this. Jake is silent and sneaks a letter from her bag. Back at the house, Lucy opens it. Money, a suicide note, and a drawing of a man. The woman is about to do something stupid. Lucy and Jake go to the address in the letter. The recipient, a sailor from the Navy, asks what the woman is to him. The man in the drawing killed his mother 4 years ago on a trip. His aunt has been haunted ever since. He describes his mother as a genius scholar who can predict astronomical events without any training, sketching unknown planets after days days of silence, even predicting the trajectory of a comet. Lucy shows him Jake's drawing. He is stunned and says yes. She said Jake. Jake sees things like his mother, just like her daughter. He is in the army so he cannot leave. He begs Lucy to save his aunt. Lucy thinks of the comet observatory, where his aunt could do something stupid. It is also the place associated with her sister's death. The observatory is closed due to cloudy weather. Jake types 1075 on the computer, while Amelia also writes the same number on a piece of paper as if they are connected. Lucy finds a woman on 1075 standing in the middle of traffic ready to die. Lucy pulls her over. She breaks down and confesses that she met the killer in a bar many years ago. She was seduced by his words about astronomy and dreams. When he got home, he became violent. Her sister came back and he stabbed her instead. Then she was overcome with guilt and did something stupid. Lucy's calm reasoning helps her overcome her guilt and move on. The next day, Lucy finds a photo from Amelia's birthday 3 years ago. In the crowd is the man from the drawing, the bakery killer, who is targeting Amelia. She is hooked up to surveillance devices. A game machine she won is placed in front of her. A ball randomly rolls into holes in a test. Amelia predicts every drop of the ball. Holes 1, 3, left 4, 1, 6. 3 flawless rounds, and her 91% accuracy beats the computer's 68%. Amelia is smarter than the machine. There are 36 people with extraordinary intelligence like Amelia, including Jake. Their enemy, Otis, known as the enemy of the 36, is a religious fanatic. He believes that those who see the connections of the world are defying the will of God. He is sent to kill them to restore divine order. To find Jake, Otis confronts Arie, Jake's contact. Arie senses danger and lies about Jake's whereabouts. Arie tracks him down and sneaks into a hotel room and finds Jake's file. His next target is Jake. Martin focuses on helping Lucy find Amelia, unaware that Jake is in danger. The tech company faked Amelia's death to keep her for experiments. Amelia disappears on her way to Los Angeles. Martin poses as a reporter to infiltrate the company and trick a manager into stealing Amelia's research data. Lucy brings the evidence to the police, but they dismiss it. Lucy desperately relies on Martin. They suspect Calvin, a former consultant to the company, whose brother William has brain damage. To cure his brother, Calvin corners Amelia and hands her over to his mother. He wants to experiment on her brain to exploit her abilities. Calvin's mother often takes William for checkups. Amelia fakes illness to accompany her. She then sneaks into an office to find the coordinates 8877 in Los Angeles playground. Meanwhile, Jake at a friend's house rushes to the same playground, leaving his name and the number 29 on a game machine. Amelia arrives to see Jake's clue, and she leaves her own. Martin gets the message and finds their marks and realizes they are close together. Martin sends a photo to Lucy. She rushes to the playground and finds Jake under a sign with the number 29 written on it. Nearby is Amelia. Lucy rushes towards Amelia and screams, "Amelia!" But Calvin's mother and brother show up and take Amelia into a car. It's the closest Lucy has been to her daughter in 3 years, and it's the most heartbreaking. Lucy angrily attacks Calvin, breaking his ribs. She screams, asking where her daughter is. Calvin is beaten up, but he remains silent. Lucy throws another punch, and he is subdued. Amelia is in Los Angeles, but when Lucy is caught off guard, Calvin escapes. He says she can see her daughter today, but he needs her to do something for him. If she wants her daughter, she can trade her for Jake. Lucy agrees desperately. She secretly takes Jake to the exchange without telling Martin. Martin is informed by friends and he confronts her at the scene. Lucy says she has found Calvin. She has him. He will bring Amelia here right now, in a few minutes. Martin asks Lucy, "Are you going to trade your son for her daughter?" Martin asks Lucy, "Why can't she just let it happen through Jake?" Lucy says she has to do things her own way. Martin can't leave her, so they wait for Calvin. But he never shows up. He tricked them both. Jake turns on the car radio and scans through the frequencies. Jake has been trying to find this radio signal all day. Martin said he thought somehow if the signal was stronger, they would get closer to her daughter. They followed it to a neighborhood and found Calvin's mother's car. Inside, she was dead and Amelia was gone. William, who had been paralyzed for a decade, suddenly moved his eyes and spoke. A medical miracle thanks to Jake. Jake had written 0175 on the car window. Martin was alert and he spotted a car with a hotline ending in 0175, so he stepped on the gas and chased after it. The car stopped at a mansion owned by Nicole, the CEO of a technology company. Martin saw Calvin and pointed a gun at him. Tony Rigby had killed Calvin's mother and he had taken Amelia. Calvin said he would never work with Tony again. Calvin only knows Amelia is in one of 83 company labs across 7 countries, a needle in a haystack. At Calvin's house, he reveals that his assistant betrayed him. The assistant revealed Amelia's location to Nicole. While the adults talk, Jake sneaks into Calvin's lab. Jake puts on a test device and turns on the power. Martin realizes that the experiment cannot be stopped. Through the device, Jake's brain connects to Amelia in a mental world. They are coming for her. Jake says he knows she won't give up on him. He asks where where she is? Is there an address or a landmark? She says they are in the desert. There is a water tower and a very old building. Jake thinks they used it for other experiments. There is a sign that says Thuler Institute, founded in 1997. Jake writes down the details. Jake leaves the data that helps Calvin save his brother's life. Martin, Lucy, and Jake follow the clues to a desert. The research institute was closed but heavily guarded. Lucy tried to sleep at night, but Jake screamed. The guards heard and drove up. To protect Lucy and Jake, Martin pretended that his car had broken down and asked them for help. The guards locked Martin in the lab. Calvin's assistant felt guilty for betraying Calvin, so he sneaked in and revealed Amelia's location. Martin and the assistant freed her. Meanwhile, Jake and Lucy broke in and worked together to cause chaos in the lab and escape. Lucy and Amelia reunited. To avoid Nicole, Martin and Lucy split up. Lucy took Amelia to a remote hideout, but Nicole's men caught up. Lucy let Amelia escape and she stayed to fight. Amelia ran up a mountain, but a gunshot rang out. Lucy died and was separated from her daughter forever. Martin was devastated when he heard the news of Lucy's death. Amelia escapes and finds Jake. They sense that Otis, the enemy of the 36, is hunting them. Otis searches for Jake, but Martin's protection keeps Jake safe. Otis targets Nan, an archaeologist packing for a trip. Jake senses danger, so he writes down the numbers that identify Nan's airport. Jake and Amelia get on a bus to escape Martin. They find Nan's box of antiques in the luggage. They hide in a truck that is taking her to her college. Martin tracks Otis to his hotel, but Martin finds him gone. Arie calls, but Jake and Amelia are gone. Arie says he only looked away for a minute and they were gone. He searched every corner of the place. They must have followed that box. It has Jake's number on it. Martin figures out where Jake went, so he rushes to the college. Otis puts a knife to Nam's neck when she loses focus. Jake is silent, but he projects his thoughts onto Otis. He says she is not the one. Nan escapes and warns Martin that someone tried to kill her. Martin knows it was Otis and calls the police. Martin then knocks him down upstairs. After a struggle, Martin overpowers him. Otis failed in his mission. He makes a fool of himself when the police sirens sound. Jake is safe, but a new danger lurks. Calvin, with his brother's health fluctuating, is lured back by Nicole to perform more experiments on Jake and Amelia. At a market, Jake is shaking and clinging to a pole. Martin nervously checks on Jake. A man on the corner of the market drops his coffee cup with shaking hands. Amelia says they are going to die. Martin is stunned. Jake can predict death. This makes him a bigger target for the company. Nicole is obsessed with data and disregards life. She even lets test subjects die. Calvin initially wants to save his brother, but he becomes increasingly uneasy with her cruelty. Martin plans to escape with Jake and Amelia, but Amelia senses disaster. A plan has been made to kill Martin. Jake and Amelia are taken away by Nicole's men. Martin wakes up in the hospital. He immediately asks about his son's whereabouts. The doctor says he is alone in the car. He leaves to find his son. Jake and Amelia are locked in a heavily guarded secret lab, but Nicole underestimates their abilities. Amelia signals Jake to get ready. Jake pretends to have a seizure on the lab table. Amelia calls for help to lure an employee in. Amelia uses a toy car to block the door. They then sneak out. They meet Calvin and he helps them escape, but they are stopped and forced to return to the lab. Martin contacts a friend who is a police officer. They kidnapped Nicole's subordinate until he confessed everything. He finally gave them information. Then the two went to the location according to the clues they found. At this time, Amelia and Jake were tied to the lab table. Amelia was in pain because of the enhanced tests. Martin stepped in and shot the technician and woke Jake up, but Amelia was unconscious. Calvin injected the drug and saved Amelia's life. Nicole called the board of directors to continue the tests, but he left her to save his own life. The police arrested Nicole for murder. The danger was over. Jake and Martin started a new journey. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos.